So, our story, I have a plant here to help with our story. So in our church here, we celebrate and we know that there are a lot of different ways that we learn about the world and come to know and believe what we do about the world. And one of these ways is through science. Now, through science, you like science? You have a big smile on your face. Oh, that's great. You guys love science. So through science, we use our brains to investigate the world and to learn why things work the way they do. You have a really big smile on your face. You can't stop smiling about science. That's great. So this morning I want to share a story about someone who had a great love of science and also a great love of religion and spirituality. His name was Joseph Priestley, and he lived over 250 years ago, and he was both a scientist and also a Unitarian minister. So our story begins with plants, like this plant right here. And plants are pretty cool, right? They're pretty amazing. One of the reasons is that plants make something that we humans and other living creatures need to live. Do you know what that is? What do plants make? Yeah.
Oxygen or air?
Oxygen or air, yeah, exactly. Very good. And today we take it for granted that plants make oxygen. We just all know that. But this fact was discovered by Joseph Priestley over 250 years ago. He was a very curious man, and he wanted to know all about the world around him, and he conducted a lot of different experiments right in his own home. And he was really curious about the air, you know, this invisible stuff all around us that helps us to live. So he did some experiments to learn more about air, and I have a picture of the equipment he used. It's a little bit blurry, but it's basically these glass jars that would sit on top of this platform. So he would use this equipment to learn about air. And he did all sorts of different experiments with this equipment. And back then, they weren't very kind to animals, unfortunately. So he did some experiments with mice that we probably wouldn't do today. But one of the things he learned is that if you put a mouse into one of these jars and covered it so it was all sealed up, the mouse would die eventually because, why do you think? Yeah? Carlton? No oxygen, right. But he didn't really understand. He just knew that the mouse would die eventually. He didn't know the word oxygen yet. But he had the idea that maybe I'll take a plant and I'll put a plant with the mouse into one of these jars and cover it up and see what happens. And what do you think happened? It lived. That's right. The mouse lived. That's exactly right. And so he didn't know what to make of this, and he wrote to one of his good friends, Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin was a really good friend of his. And he wrote to him about what he had observed, and Ben Franklin was amazed at this discovery. He thought it was the coolest thing. And he thought it made a lot of sense that plants would be in the world helping to keep the air fresh and clean and helping us to live. And he wrote back to Joseph, his friend Joseph, saying, you know, this is probably one of the reasons that we should not cut down trees and we should take care of the world around us because, you know, these plants seem to be helping us to live. So Joseph Priestley's discovery was the beginning, at least for people in Europe, of seeing how everything is actually connected. And this is one of the things that we believe here in our church as Unitarian Universalists, right? It's one of our 7 principles. Do you all know the 7 principles? Maybe. The 7th one, I think there's a song that you've been learning. I might have to sing the last line. I think it goes, 7, the web's the, what is it? The web of life's the way. Does that sound familiar? No, we're gonna have to teach them it again. We'll have to keep practicing that one. So, 7, the web of life's the way is one of our principles.
We'll sing that over the summer.
We'll sing it a lot over the summer, that's right. And I think today in your religious education program, actually, you'll be learning more about this principle. So today, and when you're at school, you can think about how science teaches us about just how amazing the world is, and it can help to inspire us in our religious lives as well, inspire us to help take care of each other and the world around us. So thank you for listening to our story. And we will now sing our children to their religious education program with Go Now in Peace.